everyone. I'm Robyn Grable, the founder of Talents Ascend and the Ascend Collective, and your host for Ascending Beyond Barriers. Welcome. Ascending Beyond Barriers is an inspiring podcast dedicated to showcasing the remarkable journeys of small business founders who have faced and overcome significant challenges on their path to success. Each episode delves into the personal stories of entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds, highlighting their unique experiences, struggles, and triumphs. Our special guest today is Lily Dagdag. Lily is a military spouse, clarity coach, and seasoned entrepreneur with over 15 years of experience building businesses that move with her, not against her life. After growing multiple service-based businesses across the country through every season of military life, she now helps fellow military spouses navigate the foggy middle of entrepreneurship. While you're still showing up, but things feel murky and misaligned. She specializes in helping women rebuild trust in their business and themselves, especially when visibility feels vulnerable or next steps feel unclear. This new chapter as a coach grew out of a deep desire to make businesses more livable for women like her, those juggling ambition, caregiving, relocation, and regulation. When she's not coaching, you'll find her in the community with other military spouses, sharing resources, celebrating resilience, and reminding them your career doesn't have to stay behind when you move. Thanks, Lily, so much for being here. I love that. There's so many things I resonated with in that intro because I just, being an entrepreneur, being a female, being a former military spouse, all these things I really resonate with. But you and I met several years ago. It's probably been, 6 years ago now.
It's been a while.
What was it like? Was it Launchanapolis or something that Mark Millay had put together for businesses there in the DC area? I think is how we met. Is that right?
I'm honestly not sure. I've attended so many local events. It all kind of blurs together.
Right? Yeah. But we have known each other for a while. So congratulations. Yeah. Now, when we first met, you were doing something different than your coaching business now. So let's start there. I want to start with kind of your history, because I think from what I know of you and your journey, doing what you were doing kind of led you to this mission now. So let's start there. What were you doing before?
So for a long time, I was doing website design. It was something that I sort of fell into because I just happened to be good at it. It was something that I could easily figure out. And so I said, why not use it to make money? Why not?
Right.
And so for a long time, that is what I was doing. And I was able, through that business, to make connections with a lot of people in the military community like yourself. Yeah. And I was able to really gain a lot of skills and figure out running a business, moving from place to place, and having to start over every time. So a lot of it is very universal to running a business. I may have learned it through website design, but it's going to be applicable to a lot of different businesses. And so it wasn't until during the pandemic or so that I was really like, do I really just want to keep doing something that technically makes money, but I don't really love? And so for me, realizing that meant that I wanted to look at what parts of my business actually did light me up, what parts of it I actually liked. And so with a lot of my clients, even though they were website design clients, I ended up advising them on a lot of things. It was never really just about website design.
Right.
And it was often about the things that they offered or, the processes of their businesses, and just being able to share things based on what I had gone through and helping them in theirs. And I was like, there's something in that, I'm sure, right? And this is a story I tell all the time on podcasts, that for the first 4 or 5 years, me and Patricia, her, my twin sister, we spent a lot of our time just bouncing from thing to thing, and most people don't have 4 or 5 years of their life to kind of figure things out.
No.
And so once we realized that we weren't really loving the website design anymore, we were like, we wanted to be able to use our experience to help other people. Especially because, and this is something we learned through website design, but again, it's applicable, is that when building our own website, it's a lot harder than building other people's websites. I can build other people's websites all day long, but as all of a sudden I try to build mine and I blank out. And it's sort of the same thing in business, right? Like, people are too much in it that a third person, someone who is familiar but not necessarily in it, doesn't have a stake in it, is the best person to get help from. And so we wanted to be that for other people, to be able to use our mistakes and the things that we've learned over the years to be able to help them because they're too deep into it to be able to see the bigger picture. Or they really just need someone to say, you know, maybe you just try one thing for now, just one thing, and forget about
Yeah.
everything else. Try that one thing, stick to it for a little while, and then you can figure out where to go from there.
Yeah.
And I really just think, especially having the built-in business partner, some people don't have that. Some people are really only doing it themselves, and so they're too much in their own head, and they can't really think these things through. And all they really need is a partner to bounce off of. And so we're willing to be that for our clients because again, we've made all the mistakes. I can tell you that right now. We've made a lot of mistakes and learned a lot of things the hard way. And we're trying to help people kind of avoid that and cut off some of that learning curve because being an entrepreneur is not easy. That's definitely something that we've learned, but it is rewarding. Being a business owner has allowed me and my sister to be able to put our families first, to be able to put our health first, and that's absolutely something we would not have been able to do with a 9 to 5 job. I guarantee I would have been fired from a 9 to 5 job by now. I guarantee that with my children's medical issues and my own, yeah, I would have been fired a long time ago. But being an
Aw.
entrepreneur allows me to work with the clients that I love and to be able to make a difference in their business and in their lives. And if I get, a little bit of money from it, all the better, win-win.
Yeah, for sure. So the business is called Milspouse Momentum.
Yes, it
So,
is.
yep. Okay, good. No, I totally get it. We're going to talk about the name here in a second, but I get it because being an entrepreneur, I've had my business for 7 years now, and we're going through a period right now, and we have been going through that for probably the last 2 years of what are we really doing? What do I really want to do? I love helping veterans and military spouses and the whole skills translation, but what is it that I really love about what I get to do every day? So, and that's hard when you're mired in it, when you're, worried about paying the bills, when you're, just bogged down with everything and you don't want to quit, but you don't know what the next step is. So I can definitely see a need for you coming in to be that sounding board, but also to be that person that, doesn't just yes someone. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that's a great idea. Yes, you can do that, because that's not what people like me at the moment need. I need somebody who's going to say, no, that's not a good idea. And here's why. Or try, just like you said, try this one thing for a little while and see if that focuses you. So I love that. So Milspouse Momentum, where did the name come from? I can probably imagine, but just tell us how you came up with that name.
So that's actually the my brother-in-law is our graphic designer, brand designer, everything. He always comes up with our business names. Like over the past 15 years that me and my sister have run businesses, every single name has come from him.
That's awesome.
And so this one, it's kind of obvious Milspouse is in the name, but also momentum that we're trying to help them get momentum in their business because a lot of people they're kind of getting stuck, and what they really need is just the right push forward in order to move forward. And I think what you said is very true. When I work with coaches, whether it's a business coach, which we've worked with quite a few in the years, or even a fitness coach, I fired him a long time ago for different reasons. But when we worked with a fitness coach, what was important to us was a coach who knew how to toe the line between being like tough while also being understanding, right? So
Sure.
I'll use my fitness coach as an example. If he sees me struggling to do push-ups and he knows that I could do more, he'll be like, I don't care that you're tired. You need to do more. But if he can see that I'm truly struggling, he's like, all right, you can stop now. And so
Yeah.
having a coach that knows the difference is very
Mm,
important to me. And I am also going to be the same way with my clients. Like,
yeah.
lots of things make you uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. Me doing podcasts is uncomfortable. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like you do them because that's the best for your business or that's the right thing to do. But then
Yeah.
there are also some things that are uncomfortable because they're wrong for you. Because you're only doing them because everybody else is doing them. Because you're only
Mhm.
doing them because you should do them. Do you know what I mean? And the right coach will know the difference. And the right coach will know when to push you one way or when to push you another, while also still recognizing that at the end of the day, your success is up to you. Your coach can know everything, can do everything, but if the person doesn't take their own success seriously, nothing's really going to change.
Yeah, because it's down to me to do the work, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have to do the work, and every entrepreneur knows that. So, but so you probably know this. There are a lot of coaches out there. How does someone pick the right coach? What's your advice on picking the right coach for you?
So to me, and I know that a lot of people will say price, right? But I disagree with that. I
I think
highly
you get
disagree
what you
with that.
pay for, though, right?
That's exactly it. That is exactly it. You get what you pay for. But I really think the most important thing is really finding a coach that really understands you and the way that you work. And it goes both ways, right? It's just as important for me to pick the right clients as it is for the people to pick the right coach.
Sure.
And to me, like, we've talked before because we worked together before, and a lot of people will understand that my personality is sort of outgoing, I guess, but it's just the way that I talk and the fact that I like a lot of pop culture references. If people are going to be annoyed by that or see it as unprofessional, then don't hire me. You know what I mean? And that's fine. Like, I'm not a good match for everybody, but I
Right.
think that you have to be reasonable. If you hire a coach that has a very upbeat, personality based on their branding and all of that, and you expect them to come in and be all buttoned down, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like, anybody who hired me and expected that would be highly disappointed. I can tell you that right now. I mean, look at my background, right? So, like, I just think that it's very important to find a coach that you're willing to, like, you really think that you connect with. And the thing is, price, obviously, I'm not insensitive. I understand the economy. I understand that not everybody has a ton of money. All I'm saying is people need to understand that there's getting a good deal and then there's too good to be true. Okay.
Yeah.
And most of the time when it's too good to be true, you're going to get exactly what you paid for. So I definitely think, yes, price needs to be, you know, accounted for. Everybody has to do that. But I
Right.
just think it shouldn't be your top concern because you still need to make sure the person you're working with is good for you. Otherwise, you're still wasting your money, even if it's less money than you would have spent with anybody else.
Yeah. But talk about the value of a coach because it's almost like a therapist too. You have to find the right therapist that's good for you, that's going to help you. Coach is the same way. Talk about the value though, and how do you explain to your clients or prospects, this is the value that we bring? Because I think it's a lot of the same in a lot of service businesses as well. I have to talk about the value that we bring as a recruiting, platform. We're not recruiters, we're a concierge service. There's value in what we do differently, and I have to explain that. So how when I'm looking for a coach, what do I look for in the value that they bring?
So, for me specifically, one of the things that I think sets me aside from the many other coaches is that I combine strategy and mindset, right? Which is not something that I've seen a lot of people do. And the
Yeah.
reality is, you can have all of the right pieces in place, but if you're standing in your own way, if you're not
Mm.
creating boundaries and all of that, you'll still fail.
Right.
So, it's really very important to have somebody that has both of those pieces to me. And to me,
Okay.
that's what I bring to my clients, right?
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing is that a coach is able to help you sort of focus on what the actual problem is and what
Okay.
you actually need to do. And most of the time, people just kind of need their hand held a little bit, right? Because
Yeah.
you know all of these things, especially if
Yeah.
you've been in business for a long time. You know that you need to be active on social media. You know that
Right.
you need to be marketing, but you're so busy spending time on this side of your business that the rest is being ignored, or you're so busy doing things that aren't working just because everybody else is doing it. So I think a coach is just able to kind of, again, step back and be able to give you a bigger picture and also to keep you on track. Realistically, my sister and I are horrible at accountability because we will encourage each other to get off track all the time. And so, especially if a person is a solopreneur, they don't often have that person kind of coming behind them and saying, "Hey, are you doing what you need to do? Are you doing what you need to do?"
Yeah.
And again, it's a balance, right? Because if you know that that person has had a long month because December is the month when they fill a bunch of orders, then you're not going to expect them to be doing a ton of marketing. But again, too often owners are too focused on like running their business and they forget that's how feast and famine starts, right? Because you spend all your time here and then you're not getting more clients and then all of a sudden you have no clients and it just keeps going and going. And so
Yeah.
I think that a coach's value is in really being able to sort of keep your eye on the prize and help you figuring out what the right path is and staying on that path. Because I really think, when your business is something that you love, it's very easy to to kind of get attached to it in the wrong ways.
Yes.
And to kind of just keep going with the things. Like you mentioned something earlier, and I think sunken cost fallacy is something that a lot of business owners um, tend to fall into. And it's like, okay, but would you rather waste 10 years or 5 years? And they just
Yeah.
walk away. We've only wasted 5 years. You know what I mean? Like when me and my sister launched our website design business, before that, we had been doing a bunch of other things. And we were like, let's burn it all down and start over. And we've done that several times. And we can do that because we've learned before that we just start again and it's fine. Other people are not so easy to do that. And I understand that. It's scary to think of burning everything down and starting over. But sometimes
Yeah.
it's just what you have to do. And even if it's not everything, sometimes you need to look at what you've been doing wrong or what you could be doing better.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to know what those things are when you have a third person saying it to you who has no skin in the game, in
Right.
theory.
Yeah, and I think because I've worked with coaches before, and one of the things that I remember is that for that amount of time when I was on the phone with them or on a Zoom call with them, I couldn't think about anything else. Like I had to focus on the conversation with the coach, with what they were trying to teach me, with what they were trying to get me to think about. So it breaks the chain of, oh my gosh, I'm locked into this and I can't get out of it because it is my baby.
Mm-hmm.
Although I read something recently that said, don't call your business a baby. I didn't read the whole thing. I don't know why it said that. Probably, I'm not even sure. I don't want to speculate, but, but it did, every time I would get on the call with the coach, I had to stop everything I was thinking about and everything I was doing. It's very similar for me, like being on the treadmill for my 30 minutes a day. It's like I can't think about anything else but walking on the treadmill and being cognizant of keeping my balance and keeping my
Right.
feet there, right? So I don't fall. But that's the same, I think the same. And you're right, because people they just get so attached to things and they don't want to give up. They don't want to disappoint people. And so you've got to make some of those hard decisions sometimes, and it's okay. I think people need to hear that it is okay, like you said, to just burn it down and start over, or take a piece of it and build from there. So,
Right.
yeah, wow.
And I
So,
think
yeah,
somebody said it recently where they were like, people are saying that, oh, I've spent all of this time on something, so I don't want to stop. But someone's like, the further you get away from your original point, the more it costs to go back. So you
yes,
might as well just stop here and start
yes.
going in the right direction.
Absolutely. No, that's very, very good advice. It's like, why invest more into something that's not working? Just stop and figure out, like you said, figure out what's working, what's not, what you love, what you don't, and go back to. And we've done that over the past 2 years. It's been about going back to our why. I
Mm-hmm.
think we grew fast and expanded fast, and then we kind of got away from our true purpose and our true why. And we're getting back to that now. So I'm super excited about our future. But yeah, so what do you tell entrepreneurs, a military spouse that wants to start a business? What is your advice on starting a business?
So my advice is definitely start with the basics, right? It
Okay.
shocks me how many people I talk to and they've had a business for years and they don't have basic things in place, basic foundations in place. And the longer you take to do it, the harder it becomes. Like for example, if you're going to want to grow your business, like some people only want to be themselves forever, and that's fine. That's a perfectly valid thing. But if
Yeah.
you want to grow to the point where you are going to start delegating, documenting your systems from the beginning just makes sense. When it's just less people and there's less complicated parts, and then you build as you go, instead of you already have a bunch of people and so many different things, and you're like, I don't know how to even write all this down.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of true of anything, right? And
Yeah.
I think the other thing is to figure out what's essential from the beginning versus what's not, and kind of just going from there, because too many people will try to start too big and then they'll end up over investing only to realize. This is sort of why when I was in my website business, I would tell people, if you're only within your first year, I do not recommend throwing $3,000 to $5,000 into a website,
Yeah.
because by next year you could decide this is not what I want at all. You could want something completely different.
Yeah.
And so most people within their first year are not clear enough to be spending that kind of money. And yes, people are like, you don't want the money? Of course I want money. Everybody wants money. But I don't want to take my clients for a ride. Okay. So sue me.
Yes.
So I think that that's very important, is that too many people kind of skip past the foundation, skip past the basics, especially when you're talking about someone, say, who love doing something as a hobby. And they're like, hey, I can turn around and make money from this. And so
Right.
all they're thinking about is how to make this product, how to sell this product, because that's the part they love the most. And they forget about everything else. The government doesn't like when you forget about everything else. They want you to think about everything from the
Yeah.
beginning. Um, and so, yeah, I think that that's definitely, my biggest thing for business owners is make sure you're starting from the basics and make sure that you have all of those foundations in place, because as you grow, it's only going to become harder to try and come back and do those things later.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, for
definitely
sure. No,
important.
great advice because we've grown and we've had employees and I've got a lot of stuff in my head because I built this thing and it's harder to when you're at the point where you're hiring people, you're already so busy
Mm-hmm.
that it's harder to stop and then do a video transfer of what's in your head, right? But if you do it as you go along, those videos are already there and the tools out there today are just massively available to do stuff like that. And it's so easy to just do a video and just a brain dump of it. Doesn't even have to be
Right.
formatted. Just
Right.
get it out of your head and walk somebody else through it. So yeah, that's really good advice. I love that. So what's been one of your favorite success stories with one of your military spouses that you've worked with?
So I don't actually have one yet for my coaching
Oh,
business.
we're still new. Okay.
Yeah, we're still working on it because
Okay.
throughout this year, so a little bit of vulnerability here. This year has been quite difficult for us. My daughter has been undergoing some health challenges,
Oh,
and so we haven't had as much time to spend on the business as we'd like. But part of it is also, I as a person have my own issues, and imposter syndrome is absolutely one of them that comes up where. It's a bit difficult for me to step out there and say, "Hey, I'm a coach," when most people know me as a website designer. So doing this interview is honestly one of the first things where I'm like, hey, I'm really a coach. I'm really doing this. And
but you
so
said it before though. You've taken if people know you as that website designer, you've already been having these conversations with those people that it's easily transferable to just being the coach. I'm not designing your website anymore. I'm designing helping you design your business. So yeah, I think you can make the jump. Absolutely. You got it.
and I mean, for me, it's definitely been a bit more difficult because again, when you're talking about conveying value, right? As a website designer, it's very specific. You have a website at the end of the day. But when you are a coach,
Tangible.
it's a little bit harder to what's the word I'm looking for? To show the value like
Right.
dollar
It's
wise, right? Especially because
intangible
I'm not
versus
going to
something that
guarantee
they can
anything,
hold in their hand, right? It's
right?
like
Like
yeah.
I'm not going to be like, oh, if you give me $1,000 by next year, you'll make $2,000. I'm not doing that. That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
So it's a bit challenging sometimes to be like, it's not a dollar for dollar thing. That's not how that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I know my why, right? And as you said, that's very important. And my why is being able to help military spouses to create these businesses, to be able to have the financial freedom doing something they actually enjoy and something that they can bring with them wherever they
Yes.
go. And to
Yeah.
not give up, because most of the time when you're about to give up, that's when you're about to do something great. That's when you're about to hit that next level. So sometimes you just need the help from somebody like me to be
Yeah.
able to keep going, but also to look at what's working and what's not, so you're not taking the things you shouldn't be taking with you to that next level.
Yeah.
um so
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a year for us, but right now we're really kind of focusing on trying to get our names out there and trying to tell people, stop telling people we're the tech twins. I mean, we technically still are, but we're coaches now. Focus on that part.
Awesome. Yeah, no question. I think you and Patricia are going to do just great at this. Absolutely. I saw a quote yesterday that said, when things feel like they're falling apart, they may actually be falling into place.
Exactly. I
So
love that
I
one.
agree totally that if you feel like you're about to quit, take that next step because it could be the one that just opens up the world for you. So Wow, amazing. Well, I wish you all the best. You and Patricia are going to be amazing coaches. Absolutely. Leverage the people that you already know because they can help tell your story. Absolutely. So definitely do that. And just, keep us in mind and let us help you any way we can. But really appreciate you being on today, Lily. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for all you do. Military spouses do not get enough recognition. And we need to do everything we can to help them, and be supportive of them. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. All right. We need to shout out to a military spouse that is our producer. LaFay LLC produces our podcast. So you'll see their QR code there on our graphics. So please support them. And listeners, please subscribe on our YouTube or our Spotify channel. Your support means that we can continue to tell these amazing stories of founders, military spouses, veterans who have ascending beyond barriers and all the great things that they're doing out there in the world. So thank you so much.